Alright, so this is a fun one to clip out. This is a really good question. So, Oliver Shagnasty says, I won't lie, guys. I'm kind of overwhelmed by the size of the map. I'm just chilling in Combe doing quests. So, please do that everywhere you go. Chill and do quests. Because the one thing this game does very, very well is these areas, especially as you get later into the game, this becomes more and more true. But each area in this game is extremely handcrafted. There's no procedural content here. This is back in the day when they had to make all the assets and put it all together by hand, write all the lore out. You know, there's no AI doing the dialogue for them. There are just everywhere you go, you will find really well written quests, and every single area in the game is going to feel very confined in the sense that all the quests you do in that area are going to be very local to that area. And then as you get deeper out, here's the thing. There are lots of different ways you can go. None of them are wrong. And the best part about this is if you end up liking the game enough, you'll come back and play alternate characters doing different things and taking different paths. The exception to that will be like the book quests. The book quests are always going to be the same. And those ones lead you on a very defined path through Middle-earth, right? And you're following along with the Fellowship. That's a very deliberate, very linear path, but you don't have to follow that path if you don't want to. But I do want to talk about this because I did this a couple years back for the LOTRO tourism show. This is a big fucking game. It's 17 years old. They have added I hear there are some people out there who will be like, I really don't like how Lord of the Rings Online doesn't let you buy an all-in-one expansion pack and they make you buy each one individually and they're nickel and diming you and all this stuff. They deserve to get paid. They've given you 17 years worth of content. I have no problems with the way they charge money for their game because all of this stuff is handcrafted, which you're not going to find from big companies like who are using procedural content. Like, this is built by people, and it's like a craft beer or a good hamburger. You're gonna pay more for it, right? It's a big, everything you read in the books, everything you've read in the books, you can go to and see and touch and whatever in this game. If you've seen it in the books or read it in the books, you can go to it. It is a massive, massive game, and it can feel very overwhelming. But don't do anything other than what you're doing right now, which is chilling in Combe doing quests. Clear an area. Move off, clear another area. Yes, you might overlevel out of an area, and they might be gray quests, but I promise you, they're still worth doing. If not for the story, then for the cosmetic gear that you're going to get out of those quests. Because there's so much cool stuff in this game to see and explore and do, and you won't see it if you like try to rush or beeline. So let's just talk about that again. How big it is, and the fact that everything in the books, right? So if you haven't picked up the quest yet, and you get the quest to go, it's Bingo Boffin, I think is the quest, or the name of the NPC. Bingo Boffin, you'll get a quest at some point in the mail to go talk to him. Highly recommend doing that, because he takes an independent journey that sort of follows in the footsteps of other characters, right? And he has his own adventure, and you can earn maps that you can put on the wall of your house as you follow him from zone to zone. But the other thing, which this is what I did several years ago, it's been like 3-4 years ago now when I did the LOTRO tourism show. I literally started off in Delving, here in the Shire, and we started characters, and we followed the Fellowship from the Shire, and all of these locations that are found in The Hobbit and in the Lord of the Rings books, we went and visited. You know, so we obviously went to Delving, went to Tuckborough, went to Hobbiton, to Bywater. You got to go to the different taverns along the way. The Green Dragon, you got to go there, working your way through to Stock, to Breland, crossing the ford, going over into Buckland. How do I get to the Buckland map? Well, there's... I don't remember, I can't actually click on the Buckland map here for some odd reason. But here in this area, you can go down into Buckland, you can cross through there, you can go to the Old Forest. From the Old Forest, you go into the Barrow Downs. From the Barrow Downs, you're in Breeland. Breeland, you go through the Midwater Marsh, you get to the Lonelands. From the Lonelands, we get to go to Weathertop. There's the Forsaken Inn. From there, you're passing through into the Trollshaws. And from the Trollshaws, you're going through and you're going to Telbrunnen, and you're crossing the the gorges in the forge, or not the forge, the ford, and then you get up to North Trollshaws, and you get up over here to the High Moor and the Giant Valley, and then you get to Rivendell, and Rivendell's freaking amazing. And then there's the Misty Mountains, and then there's going into the Goblin City and finding Gollum's Cave. Like, I have an episode I linked the other day to the chat, like going in and finding Gollum's Cave in there, and that's just like going back to the Trollshaws. I doubt I have it on this character because I haven't been there. They've changed this map since the last time I was here. In the Trollshaws, I think it's around here somewhere, are the 3 trolls that are turned to stone from The Hobbit. So like, this is a big game. I've just showed you like multiple zones, right? So everything we're playing right now in the level 1 to 50 game, which is, what is this, Shadows of Angmar, and Siege, I always forget what it's called, it's been so long. The base game, which is level 1 to 50, that all takes place here in Eriador. So, Eriador is everything essentially west of the Misty Mountains. So all of this is what you get to play in the level 1 to 50. You're going to come to hate this place a lot. Farokel, however you want to pronounce it. You're going to learn to hate that place. Each one of these areas is, you know, quest hubs and lots of story in condensed areas. So you'll find a quest hub and you'll do quests forever. A good example of this is the North Downs, which is one of my favorite. It's not my favorite. Trollshaws is my favorite zone in the game. I love the North Downs, especially when you get to Esseldin, which is this town over here. It's a ranger town. It's a Dunedain town. And you have there are so many quests. You start off in Trestlebridge. You do all of these quests. There's hubs all along the way. There's Fornost, which is a huge dungeon that you can do in different instances now. Then you just follow the path east and you're doing quests over here. And then you get to Esseldin and you're doing quests all up and down the road and for everybody and for the dwarves, the elves, and the men. And then you go on the east side and you're in through Nana Umlug East and the Dol Didden and the craziness that's down there. I mean, this is all just a level 1 to 50, right? But then, now let's look at what's beyond that. Then you say Moria comes. Okay, so now we get Eregion, which in and of itself is an amazing zone where you see the world building team take a leap forward. It's a jump forward in terms of the way the game looks compared to the base game because they'd had some experience under their belt at this point. And this is sort of the pre-stuff leading up to Moria. And then you get into Moria, and it's outside of like Wrath of the Lich King and Plains of Power for EverQuest 1. The Mines of Moria is my favorite expansion in an MMORPG. It's in my top 3 of all time. This expansion is amazing. The Mines of Moria are wickedly epic and terrifying if you do the dungeons with a group. And it's huge. The last time we went through this, we did it on Landroval. This is probably 5-6 years ago at this point. My brother, myself, I think Maduros was with us at that point in time. Rack was with us, Rack checked in a couple nights ago. We hadn't seen him in a little bit. And I can't remember who else we had. We had a group of 6, and we went through. It took us 3 months to get through Moria, and we were playing like 3-4 nights a week. 3 months to get through here. When we finally broke through to the other side, and we saw sunlight and Lothlorien ahead of us. It was like, oh my god! I can see the light of day! This is amazing! Because after 3 months in the dark, you were feeling it, man. But then you go from Moria, and we go and say, okay, well now we're into Lothlorien. Well, and then from Lothlorien, now we're working our way down. And so Mirkwood we'll talk about later because that came later, but you can go to Mirkwood. There's Northern Mirkwood, Southern Mirkwood. That's the expansion after Lothlorien. So you do Lothlorien, and then you get to come into Mirkwood. And Mirkwood has its own places and series of quests. And then you work your way south from Mirkwood. And it's been a long time since I've done this, but I think you work your way to Isengard next, which is on the way. So you end up down in Isengard. And there's a whole series of quests in Isengard, which the storyline is really cool, but there's so much running around, it's kind of like, but it's really cool, and you get to meet, like, like Wormtongue and Saruman in this whole section, and right before this is when you're working with the Dunedain in the woods for a few weeks, and you earn their sets of armor, and it's so cool. And then you're in Dunland, and Dunland is when you start the Rohan content, and for me, for my money, Rohan is like it's one of the best parts of Lord of the Rings Online. They had a bigger budget. They had like all of the Theoden, Éomer, Éowyn, Gandalf, Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas stuff is all like fully voice acted in the cutscenes here. When Theoden gets to see the Ents for the first time, it's just like it is from the books. Like and Rohan is freaking huge. Go back over here. I gotta get back to the map. Rohan. Rohan is a big place. You've got Edoras, you've got Fanghorn. Oh, by the way, Fanghorn Forest is frickin' wicked. You get to do some fun quests in there with the Ents. But all of these, Westfold, Stonedan, Broadacres, these are all areas, and each one of these places, Osserley, Torsbury, Stoke, etc., they all have quest hubs. And each quest hub has an independent story that's taking place. And then there's the overarching story, which is related to the book quest. So, I'm rambling because there's Rohan, and then once you get through with Rohan, you go to Gondor. And there's Western Gondor, Central Gondor, and Eastern Gondor. There's Far Anorion, Old Anorion, all this amazing stuff here. So you zoom in here, same thing. Each one of these places has quest hubs, some of them bigger than others. And then you get to Eastern Gondor, and then I'm in the farthest I have ever gotten, despite the fact that I've played this game since launch. I'm in Osgiliath right now with my lore master. It was the last time I played regularly. I'm searching for Faramir right outside the gates of Minas Tirith. It's war. There's smoke and orcs and trolls and everything everywhere. It's terrifying. It's a lot of fun. Then there's Minas Tirith. If you get to do the Midsummer's quest at some point, where you get to go, you could go do the quest where Aragorn and Arwen get married. It's so cool. That quest line is so cool. You can go there independent of whether you've been to Minas Tirith or not. You can just go participate in the event. Then you get into Mordor, right? And that's, taking the ring to Mordor time. I've never done any of the Mordor content, and I own it. Never done it. One day I'll get to it. I have Altitis in this game, so going back to the original question of overwhelmed by the size of the map, I'm just chilling in Combe doing quests. One of the reasons I've never gotten to Mordor or had a max level character is because I get sidetracked chilling in zones just doing quests, because every place you go has really, really cool quests, and the game is so frickin' big that it's impossible to do it all in one character, and even after you have 20 alts like I do, you still might not have seen it all, even though you might have repeated some stuff a few times. It's a really, really, really big game. And hopefully that doesn't make you fear the game. It's very big, but just take your time. It's not going anywhere. It's good to go, man. Liam says, LOTRO is a passion project for these developers. Yeah. It's not WoW where you max it out in a day. Correct. The cloak rack? Yeah, the cloak rack is a reward from Bingo Boffin, as Fudgy Muffin says. Oliver says that sounds so freaking awesome. It is awesome. It's why this game is still my favorite MMORPG of all time. I don't main it, but I love it.